Hello and welcome to another video where we break down a production for one of the book songs. I absolutely loved making this one. It's been a while since I had made like a really catchy, super pop, carefree record. So this one was where I let it all out. Cue the intro.
What would the world be without the writers and lovers? The writers and lovers.
Alrighty, here is the full Logic session for Writers and Lovers. I added some color coding. That was like the very last thing that I did. And I should note that this version actually already includes the live guitar and live bass, all recorded by Victor Balconi, who records all of the live guitar and bass on my songs. So when I was producing this, a lot of what I did kind of kept the fact that he would be recording guitar and bass in mind, especially guitar, because I wanted the acoustic guitar in particular, to carry a groove throughout the entire song. So a lot of what I produced didn't have that innate groove in it, or at least like an underlying current of groove, because I knew that he would eventually bring in that acoustic guitar. So I basically produced everything, sent it to him. He recorded these tracks, then I imported them back into my session and adapted some of what I had previously put in there to make sure that it doesn't interfere with his tracks. I told him just like, do as much as possible. I can always erase some of the stuff that I did before. So once his tracks were in, kind of went back in and did like a second round of tweaking. So let's start with actually his guitar, because this is kind of like the leading element of the entire song. And if you guys remember, when you do guitar, in order to create more space, more atmospheric sound, you will do two of the exact same takes, but you will pan one left and you will pan one right, or two takes of the exact same thing. That's a better wording. So here we go. This is the acoustic guitar. Can we hear it? There we go. And this carries on throughout the entire song. And then there is an extra layer that he recorded over this guitar, like a counter melody. Not a counter melody, harmony. There we go, together. The electric guitar does have a counter melody, I think. Yeah, there we go. And another one. So this is one. And then one right here. So that layered over the top of the other one. So that's kind of like the baseline of the whole song. And even when I was producing this, before I had sent it to him, my goal was to kind of do a lot of looping elements layered on top of each other that kind of interact, almost like a bunch of different eras of human civilization interacting with one another, if you will. The intro came about in a very unusual way. This entire song, I think, the creation of this one, in the production and the writing too, was quite a unique experience, because I hadn't set out to do this kind of a song with these kind of lyrics, but when I saw the title Writers and Lovers, I immediately was like, oh, it needs to be a song about how there's two types of people, the writers and the lovers. But I never, before I'd seen that title, I was never like, oh, I want to write a song about the organization of human society and civilization. You know, it's like not something that you think about, or I didn't at least. And then same with this production. The intro especially has that like jump feel, like, you know, song jump, boom, boom. And I didn't set out to do that, but the way that I had kind of like started working on it, it just kind of came together. And interesting thing about this production is something happened that had not happened to me before when producing, is I had done the whole thing the first day that I set out to do it. So I blocked out an entire Friday. I remember it vividly, and I spent like hours on this, but I finished it front to end. And when I had it finished, then I spent the next month plus just like obsessing over the tiniest little details, which I hadn't done before. Usually I do like a verse and a chorus, and then I wait, and then I think about it, and then I add in those details and then complete the song. But here I did it all in one day, which gave me a lot of time to perhaps in some places overthink. Towards the end, I intentionally stopped myself. I was like, no, this is not yet the finished product. I was like, I kept trying to remind myself that I still needed live drums to be added in here, live strings, and then a bunch of vocals that will also contribute to the song. So I'm glad that I stopped where I did. Otherwise, I would have overdone it a little bit. So anyways, back to the intro and that whole jump idea. First of all, I really like starting on a drum kick that is like a little bit, you're not really sure where it's gonna go. And these are the MIDI drums that I played just out here on the keyboard. The final version that you're familiar with has live drums in it. So this is the groove. That's it. Now, on top of this, actually maybe I should start like this, is a piano, just a regular chords. This is actually what I used when I first recorded a demo for the song, and then I put the scratch vocal, this one right here, on top of it. It was just these piano chords, super basic. Then we have a piano loop. And this doesn't come in until the second chorus and then towards the end again. So I really front loaded a lot of the production in this beginning intro. And then these elements kind of get slowly, gradually added back in throughout the song. So you start on a high, then you break it down with the first verse, and then you end again on a high. So this is this. Then we have a synth lead. It's literally just an octave. I'm pretty sure it's an E flat octave. Let's see. Is it an E flat octave? It's not an octave. It's B flat into E flat. So it's a fourth. And the type of synth I use, it almost feels like it's like looping around and phase shifting a little bit. And then we have this one. Just 3 consecutive notes. This one I'm F flat, E flat, F, and G flat. G. Kind of annoying, but in context it provides a little bit of texture and harmonic interest. Then we have, let's see if there's any other moving ones. We have a clav, which I only use at one point in the song after, but I liked it in the beginning because it creates more like a lush, a wall of sound type of vibe to it. Just E flat and B flat, 8 notes. And then we have an electric guitar loop. This almost gives me like Sweet Child of Mine vibes to it. So all of these guys are sort of like creating the harmonic texture underneath it all. And then we have the main melodic element, which is the bum, 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 which is my jump thing. So these are 2 synths layered. And then I think I have 2 more. So this sound that you hear in the song is basically a compound of 4 different synths, plus I think I have strings as well, MIDI strings. So all of this together is creating that. I think I like that because it creates like layers to the melody, but also provides more width. And I'm also realizing that I have some strings in the like lower part as well, right here. Right here, and then these ones as well. These are just, this is just an arpeggio of a chord. And you can see that it's titled bridge because I use it in the bridge as well. So now with everything together. And you can hear in some of these places that there's specific elements that come in and out that you hear more and less. And that's all because I did some editing of volume adjustments by hand. So like right here, you see that the synth lead comes in here a little bit, or I know that the guitar, where's my guitar? Right here. It comes in like second measure of the intro because there was so many elements happening, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if like each one of them briefly peek out, or like so that you can redirect your attention like, oh, that's also there. Oh, that's also there. Otherwise they kind of all collide with each other and they're layered on top of each other, which makes it like wide but also relatively seamless. You don't necessarily discern between them. So I liked like kind of refocusing your attention, redirecting, like, hey, look at this, hey, look at that. So when you play back the intro, you can see if you hear that as well. That takes us to the verse. And for now, I'll show you without the piano, the guitar tracks, because those were added in later and we heard them in the beginning. So has the basic piano chords, just this. And then pretty much that plus what I had as the bass and the beat. That's more or less the majority of the first verse. Let's see, there's one more thing that I want to show you guys. Right here, one note. So what I like to do this sometimes, not throughout the entire song, but in places, it adds a little bit of like a grounding, like an atmospheric grounding to the song, and it's literally just a single note in the key that you're in. I think in this case I used E flat because we're E flat major, and E flat is a tonic in this case. Is it E flat? Yeah, it is. And it's just this. It's just up there floating to provide a little bit of grounding to what's happening around it. And now, so this is the verse, but then we also bring in, where is it? Halfway through the verse, I add in another synth pad. You can hear it. Let me pause it so you can hear it by itself right here. And then this carries into the pre-chorus. Now when we get to the pre-chorus, I wanted to start speeding things up a little because this is where we have spilled on, spill the secrets, got the Colosseum glances. So the lyrics start speeding up. So I want to make sure that the production does it as well. So we have this right here. Again, a lot of melodic elements in this song that play little quick melodic loops. Sometimes they're arpeggios, sometimes they're just going up or down the scale, skipping a few degrees of the scale. But this song, a lot of the production is just that because the rhythm and the production, the chord progression isn't super exciting. So I wanted to make sure that the song doesn't feel too stiff and too much of like a jig. So I was trying to counteract that with a bunch of different rhythmic subdivisions, but also melodic motifs that kind of add some complexity to the general vibe of the song. So we have this, and then we have these little pizzicato strings that also come in the pre-chorus. Actually, let me play them by themselves. I love this one. Again, they carry their own little melody. Dum, 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 dum. You can hear it. There's like a bass line B flat that goes throughout, and then there's a second layer to the pizzicato strings right here. Bum, 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 that provide a little bit of a melody to it. And then we also have these guys that kind of offset the rhythm of the previous pizzicato strings that I played for you. It's this. So if you play it along with this, see what I'm talking about? Like a bunch of different rhythmic subdivisions and like rests and grooves that interact with one another to make it spicier and more interesting. So if we play everything in the verse now. Cool, and that takes us now to the chorus. This one, was the bane of my existence. I spent so long on this chorus trying to figure out, and the last element that I added in, I actually came up with one night. I was about like brushing my teeth and I was trying to sing some melody for it. I was like, oh, what if we did this synth melody? It was like 1 a.m. at that point. I was like, oh my God, if I don't do this right now, I'm gonna forget about it. So I turned on this computer. At this point, it was already like 2, and I added it in. And I'm glad I did because it ended up kind of like fixing my chorus problem. So we have the piano, as always, just this, the chords. Then we have a piano loop in the chorus. This one was inspired by, this is so random, so I watched a live version of Jessie J performing Defying Gravity. I think it was on BBC Radio. It was very recent that she did it, and she's incredible. The version is incredible. She has like live orchestra with her. And I was listening to it very carefully and was fascinated by the fact that I never like really listened to the production of Defying Gravity so analytically, but when I was listening to that version, I was like, oh my God, the chorus just has strings doing a 3-note arpeggio over and over. Do 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 do. So if you listen to it, you will be able to hear it. The thing, I'll try defying gravity, do 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 in the background. You'll see it. You'll hear it when you listen to it. Now you'll hear it. Anyways, I was like, wow, that's actually kind of beautiful. And I love using repetitive melodic motifs over a changing chord progression because, and I've said this so many times, like this is, I feel like this is such like a classic Anja thing to do in a production, is because when you have a certain set of melody, like notes that comprise a melodic motif, when that interacts with different chord progressions, harmonies, it creates different tension, different relationships between the notes, different intervals. And even though it seems simple on its own, when you pair it with a change in chord progression, it creates these really nice tension and releases in the harmony. Case in point, right here. Super straightforward. But if you're ever looking into production, that's like, I would say that's like the number one thing you can try out. And you'll immediately learn so much about harmony and composition, changing chord progression, and a steady melody. And you'll see just how much you can achieve just with that. Anyways, back to our production. Synth lead, I have no idea what this one is. Oh, okay, cool. So this is the same one as in the verse, like the phase shifting one. Then I think this one, or no, verse, sorry, intro. And I think this one is also in the intro. This one to me feels very 1975. Even the way that I treated it, or like EQ'd it. Then we have, wow, I have no idea what any of these are. It's been a while since I did this. Let's see. Ah, okay, cool. So this kind of matches this piano loop as another layer. Yeah. So with the two different ones, this one is kind of like almost dreamy, spacey, and it covers more of the low end and a lot of like reverb, whereas this one is more high end and sparkly, and I think together they work together really nicely. Then we have this one is a inverse of this one. Yeah. So it's again 3 notes, but in a different order, and it kind of plays together with these two. See how that's what I was talking about. This song has so much of this, just like textures creating through different contrasting melodic motifs and rhythms. And then we have this one, and I'm pretty sure looking at it, this looks like the one that I did that night I was telling you about. Yeah. This is the melody I was singing to myself. Yeah. So this just provides like a main counter melody to focus on along with the chorus melody. And it kind of supports this little synth pad that I have in here. I think it's this one. Nope, not this one. This is, since we're here, this provides just more texture and covers more of the low end. So it's just very basic chord progression. It's the same as what this piano does, but if you listen to it, it's much lower. So you capture more of the sonic spectrum. But where is that? Dun, dun, dun. Oh, it's this one. I think it's this one. Yeah. And this one again to me feels very like almost 90s ballad, but also 1975. And this plays together with the synth lead I have that I came up with that night. This song has a lot of like 80s stuff, then some random 70s stuff. It's like a very big conglomerate of inspirations from different eras, which I think is thematically kind of suits the whole core, like the core message of the song, which is this inevitable inescapability of carrying on traditions and ideas and creations created before you. Like this idea of passing on knowledge and knowledge mainly throughout generations. You know, we all end up quoting on our mothers, and here I am making this like super referential song and talking about exactly that. So I think it was quite fitting that it has a lot of like a wide range of influences, even though I wasn't maybe super intentional about it at the time. When I was just kind of looking to what would fit best sonically, but looking back on it, I was like, oh yeah, it's actually a quite nice sonic representation of the message of the lyrics. Then we have some spiccato strings, which kind of outline the melody from the intro. Bum, bum. And then I wonder if there's anything else here that's worth noting. I think these are the main, the one note comes back in, this one. The guitar loop from the intro, the Sweet Child of Mine. So a lot of what was, again, introduced in the intro is now brought back in the chorus. So. There you go. Then we have the post-chorus, which came about very randomly. I didn't think I would use any sort of melodic hook in there, or instrumental melodic hook. And then I was like, wait, what if I take the bam, 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 bam from the intro? Because that was the first thing I put together. Before I did anything else, I laid out the intro. Then I started doing the rest of the song, which again was quite unusual for me. I usually like to do the basics first with the verse and pre-chorus, but with this one, it just kind of, I started doing it and I couldn't stop myself from continuing. I was like, I'm on a roll, let's keep doing this. So then the idea was, what if I take the intro and layer it over the chorus vocal melody, the riders and lovers, and see what happens. And then, I was quite sloppy with what I copy pasted. I was like, let me just take a few things from the intro so I don't spend too much time like copy pasting all of the tracks. Let me just select a few random ones, just the ones that kind of capture the main melody, and put it there just to see if it works. And then if it does work, I can always add in the rest from the intro. And I did this. And then I layered the vocal melody over, and I was like, wait a second.
Lovers are the riders and lovers are.
And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I did not expect it to be it. I never had it in mind, because usually, I think I've told you guys this before, that when I'm trying, like before I start producing a song, I try to make it in my head. And with this one, that melodic motif did not exist in my head. It happened on the day of, and then I just started ended up using it everywhere and ended up working. So it was very exciting for me, because I was like, it was one of those moments where things just click, and I was like, this is so cool, I love it. Now we go to the second verse, that basically copy paste the first verse with additions of a couple more instruments to create a little bit more of a build. One is this little piano loop. Just this over the piano. The other, like the chord, main chord progressions. And then this synth moving pattern that again reminds me a lot of the 1975 right here. Again, just playing descending scale. And then again, I did some volume level automation. As you can see, it kind of comes in and out throughout the verse, because I like that its role kind of goes back and forth between being like a background texture and then becomes like a forefront element. So again, if you listen closely to the verse, the second verse, you'll hear that it's like sometimes in the background, then all of a sudden it pokes out. Let me see if there's anything else. And then the second pre-chorus basically just builds what we had already made before. Let me see if there's any new, I think there's one new element in it compared to the first pre-chorus. This one. So the same thing that was there before. And then the rest is basically the same. This plus this loop that continues. That's it. The rest is just copy pasted from the previous pre-chorus. And then in the actual final version, I added in a bunch of vocal harmony. So it's like a whole massive chord stack there, again, to create some more tension to build. In the second chorus, I added in a set of strings that I initially had in the first chorus, but then I was like, oh, there's too much happening. I need to save this for later. So it's these guys right here. It's a MIDI pizzicato. And layered on top, what's a good example? Let's say the Sweet Child of Mine guitar. Then the synth pad. Another synth. Another synth pad for texture. This is also a new addition. It's in the intro, you can see it here. And then it comes in the second chorus to build it. All together. fine gravity piano. Now we add the drums. Where are they? Then we'll add in the bass and guitar, and you'll hear it all come together. Riders and lovers. So here you can hear a little. I think is it this one? No, it is this one. Sorry, give me one sec. I think it's this one that comes in. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure I did some volume automation here in this one as well to do like this organic build, organic crescendo without having to add other elements or layer things more. So I just increased this one in volume. There's a crescendo on this one. And that takes us then to the bridge. And the bridge to me, if the whole song is like an amalgamation of different influences, this one to me is like sort of like an homage to classical music. It feels very much like a chamber trio. And I kind of wanted that. And it's funny because it's the exact opposite of what I was planning on doing with the bridge. I thought the bridge was going to be huge and a lot of like yelling and shouting and background vocals. And instead, when I was making it, I was like, wait, it feels way more interesting and exciting if we do the exact opposite and do this like really cool, like I said, almost like a chamber music breakdown. So it's just a bunch of strings layered on top of each other. There is this one that I think are octaves. No, almost. So it's 3 different notes that loops in between. Then we have this one. And kind of like a counter melody to that one. Dum, 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 dum. Traveling up in the cellos. The string of violins are going down. So those two to create texture. Then we have sort of like the main melody, which I kind of improvised on the piano and then ended up using it in the strings. And then with these, you do it for the start. Say it's love, it's power, it's nature, it's art. You do it for the story, oh, you do it for the start. Like super unusual, kind of like whimsical, fun little bridge. On top of that, I have that single one note just to give it a little bit more harmonic grounding because everything else is moving. And then on the second half of the bridge, I think I brought in the melody from the intro, like the bam, 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 bam. Let's hear it. I think it's in the synth. Yeah. So that comes in, it's like a sneaky way to reiterate a melody without it being at the forefront. It's just kind of in the background, but it's familiar to your ear because you've heard it in the intro and every post-chorus. And there's also this one. I'm not sure, where is this one? And I think I also brought in the piano, yep. Oh, and I think there's another, there's also a spiccato strings doing that bam, 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 bam melody. And then the last chorus is, in its like approach, somewhat similar to the third chorus of Louvre, where it's like a breakdown, but not really a breakdown. You kind of like build it back up. So I think it'd be really odd for like, there's a couple of things I could have done after this bridge, right? You either slow it down even more and you do like just piano and guitar and then you build from there. But I wanted to kind of continue with this chamber music strings idea and start layering on top of that the elements from the previous choruses. So we keep everything from before, but we add in this little piano loop again. We add this. But this keeps going. Bum, 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 bum. And it kind of like recontextualizes the chorus a little bit because previously this motif, this instrumental melody was not in the choruses. That was reserved for the intro and the post choruses. And here you recontextualize the melody of the chorus even a little bit because you add in a different production underneath it. It makes it a little bit more interesting and it feels like the chorus is a brand new section that's still familiar, without the song feeling too repetitive because you're doing another chorus. That, we also have a synth pad. I'll just actually play through the whole thing so you hear how stuff gets added. Then we added this one. We add some strings. This one. This feels very Viva La Vida Coldplay. We added this. And now it explodes into the last outro with that melody. And then you start slowly breaking it down again. Taking things away, one by one. There you go. And that's the production. This one, like I said, because I had completed it so early on the day that I started it, I ended up having a lot of time to think and overthink it, and really focus in on a lot of details. And I think a good depiction of that, that overthinking or time spent thinking about the details is all of the volume automation. You can see like all of the random little bits and pieces of different instruments that come in and out. I love to do that as a production device because I think it's a great way to use what you already have, but just by bringing it to the forefront, you change the relationship between the different compositional elements, and by changing that relationship, by changing the volume levels between them, you also change a listener's perception of what they're hearing, and you can add new elements and make things feel fresh and exciting and interesting without having to create a ton of new elements that make the song messy. And I think that's definitely something that I've learned throughout my time of production. If I had done this, I don't know, even 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, I probably would have done way more instruments, even though it already feels like a lot. I really like that whole wall of sound approach is very much what I gravitate towards naturally. I like lush harmonies that feel like sound is just completely engulfing you. But if I'd done this a few years ago, I think I would have definitely done way more things that serve the song less. Whereas now I've learned different ways to like I said, to make things feel new and unheard of before, without actually adding new elements. And the whole volume automation or panning, a lot of that, even though it seems straightforward, it's a huge production device that you can use to your advantage. And now I'm ranting. So anyways, this is the production for Writers and Lovers. I love this song. I am particularly excited about it because I think it's a very, or at least to me, it's an enjoyable marriage of lyrics that have depth, but also melodies that feel fun and light and exciting. And even if you don't necessarily maybe know what the song is about, or like all the different references, it feels fun to sing. And then if you do end up starting to look at the lyrics more deeply, you see that the stuff that you memorize is actually really profound. Hey! Yay for you! So anyways, drop your questions below if you have any about how I made this or the song in general. And then I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for indulging me. I'm sorry for another long one. Okay, bye!